ensure that there are returns. So they went out to test the process. The process involved the nomination of 4 primary lending institutions, 4 banks, who were warehousing the CVFF funds. And these banks were supposed to play the role of credit risk analyzer. So if you applied for the facility through your bank, amongst the 4 banks identified, the banks, well, you apply to NIMASA, and NIMASA will send your application to the bank to do a risk analysis on your project, and the bank will make recommendations, positive or negative, back to NIMASA, and NIMASA is supposed to now forward the recommendation from the bank, if it's positive, to the Honorable Minister, who has the authority, the final authority to disburse, approve the disbursement of the fund. So some of us, let me use Starzs as a case study. That vessel on the right hand at the top there, we got a contract with one of the IOCs, a 5-year contract, to build a new vessel and provide it and use it to service that IOC for 5 years. So you had a contract, we had a contract in hand which had a gross value. So you can see that this contract is worth so much. So with that contract, you should be able to go to any financial institution to say, look, I have a contract to provide this vessel, and that's the value of the contract. I need so much to be able to build a vessel. So the first port of call, naturally, was NIMASA for the CVFF. So we applied. And they went to the bank made their recommendations, it came back to NIMASA. Okay, all of this took 2 years, it's not as quickly as I'm saying. And then, then from NIMASA, it went to the Honorable Minister. And there were 6 companies so shortlisted. Maybe you read them in the papers over time. And the files for these 6 companies went to the Honorable Minister. Now, instead of the Honorable Minister to exercise the authority and the power he had to now approve the disbursement, he carried the files to Mr. President. And he said, Mr. President, sir, I just need your assent for me to carry out an assignment which I have a right to do without your permission. That is some of the things we do here. And then Mr. President says, wow, you mean we have this sort of money sitting in down there? Where is the DG of NIMASA? What are you doing there? You mean you have this type of money? And that became the end of the disbursement. That was the nearest this country got to disbursing the fund. And all of us know, the rest is history. We all watch the television, what happened to the former DG NIMASA and all of that. So the new kid on the block comes up, Honorable Minister, and takes all of that and throws it through the window. I will not disburse. Fine. Come up with your own guideline to make it disbursable. And that's where we are. And we're arguing about it, we're fighting about it, we're negotiating. Meanwhile, ship owners are going out of business because they can no longer operate. Some of us are thinking, what is the solution to the problem? I think the solution is still simple. Just like the previous administration did, those in authority right now should get together some financial experts who can give them a structure, because the former guidelines is no longer attainable, for the simple reason that at that time, all such funds as the CVFF fund were warehoused in different banks. Thanks to Buhari, when he came in, he closed all those, moved all government funds into TSA. Now, with the old guideline, the banks, the primary lending institutions, had a responsibility to provide 35% of the required application, and also provide the guarantee to the CVFF managers, i.e. NIMASA, that if this transaction that we've checked goes sour, we, the bank, are guaranteeing that we will return the money, so, which was a very good cover. But today, those PLIs no longer hold onto the CVFF, which they used to guarantee, to give that guarantee. So somebody has to ingeniously come out with an arrangement that makes it possible for the funds to be disbursed from TSA and at the same time guarantee that the funds are not abused and will be paid back. That is what, in my opinion, should happen now to move this, to get over this problem that the whole industry is facing. Now, if the challenge we have is, whereas in 2009, from call to tender for that vessel, which will be commissioned next month by the grace of God, from call to tender to commission in 9 years. 9 years. So we started from a non-existing vessel, went through a bid process, won the tender, then you started looking for funds, then you went to the shipyard. That was built in China by Diamond Shipyard of Europe. Then they spent 2.5 years building, then you have to bring in. Now, that vessel, the duty to bring it into the country is 900 million naira. Now, it's either that I get it from a bank or I steal it from somewhere. Under Buhari, you can't steal anymore. So you have to go to an institution. Now, if CBFF was active, that's where you can go to borrow that money at unitary interest rate. But because they are not there, you have to go to a commercial bank to borrow 900 million naira import duty at double-digit interest. It's better for me to just park the vessel so I can live long. And that's what a lot of people are doing. So the government has to come to terms. I liked the presentation by Dr. Mbea yesterday. Government, you can't run away from the responsibility of creating an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. He said yesterday that the Nigerian ports is the gateway for in and out of our export and import. And unfortunately, that's where the system puts a stranglehold on importers and exporters by way of duty. And I've just given you a clear case of how the system has put a stranglehold on an indigenous player, whereas my foreign counterpart bringing that vessel just posts a 1% duty. It doesn't pay 1%, it just posts a bond of 1%. I'm glad that the custom people are coming in now. But unfortunately, it's not their making. It's a legislative issue to review our fiscal policies to make business more attractive and sustainable in our country. That's one problem. Another problem is, at the time that contract was tendered, the oil and gas sector was operating on long-term contracts, 3 years, 5 years, depending on the nature of the transaction. But today, because of PIB, which has not been passed, there's so much uncertainty in the industry that the IOCs are not able to commit to any long-term contracts. So what that means is you cannot really access CVFF because you don't have a contract tangible enough to be able to pay back. So, in summary, there is need for an interministerial collaboration. Like Dr. Mbea said again yesterday, you can sacrifice duty and look at the benefits the whole socio-economy is getting by that sacrifice. You excite the economy, you create more jobs, you are earning tax returns, you are training skills, you are earning proceeds from your exports because you've liberalized that bottleneck. And that's what we also need to do here. There has to be an interministerial discussion. Look, if we're talking about our maritime sector, shipping industry dying, we need to do X, Y, Z. One of them is to also engage the IOCs, and in this case NNPC, to say, look, if we don't have long-term contracts, we cannot grow the indigenous fleets, because they will not be able to get finance, not even from CVFF, to be able to buy ships or build ships. That's one problem. Another issue which we see as a palliative is this. Some of the owners, because of the reduced rates, are no longer able to maintain their vessels. So some of those vessels are sitting there for as little as $1 or $2 million. And they have potential to be employed even on short term. So why doesn't the CVFF become a little bit innovative by saying, okay, let's identify those players. Let's look at their challenges in terms of keeping their vessels operational. Let's verify their employability by the clients, the IOCs. If we're able to help this owner bring the vessel back to work, can you take her on and get her to work? You're not helping the owner. You're not putting money in his pocket. You are exciting the economy. You are creating more job opportunities. You are making the economy buoyant. There are all sorts of multiplier effect for every one ship that is operating. So, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I think the issue of CVFF is not intractable. What we need is for those in authority to open up their minds and be willing, first of all, to sit down and understand the implication of their own position and brainstorm with relevant consultants and experts and stakeholders on a way out to be able to bring back a buoyant shipping industry in our country. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.